Cleo.
Hey, this is Cleo with CleoYogaFinance.com, and we are here for another episode of Financially Free with Cleo, a show where we shift mindsets with real and raw money conversations with everyday people, empowering you to take action, appreciate the journey, and live the lifestyle you desire financially, mentally, and physically. And today we have a very special guest, one of my longtime friends from high school, and he is a successful sales professional with an MBA in supply chain management and a proven experience in supply chain and sales in the manufacturing industry. He is the owner of Snacks LLC, where their slogan is two-piece snack, offering merch from shirts, hats, bags, and more. He's also a part-time stock investor and an inspiring real estate mogul. Welcome to the show, Norman McClain.
Hey. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for the awesome introduction. I really appreciate that. Like Cleo said, my name is Norman McClain, and Cleo and I have been friends since high school. So go Firebirds, Pro Cone, marching band. So yeah.
Yes, you are so welcome. And I appreciate you for taking the time to spend this time with me and talk with me about money and how it affects our life. And yes, our days from Pearl Cone High School in Nashville, Tennessee, marching band days, those was the best times of my life. I know we are, older now, but I still have my flashbacks where I kind of reminisce and think about the good old days. But I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because I feel like a lot of us, we both can continue learning from each other, and we can share some of our experiences and what we've been throughout our life. So we can just go ahead and start this conversation. All right. So Norman, if you could just start with sharing with us about your childhood and how you grew up and how you first learned about money.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. So North Nashville, for those who are familiar with Nashville, the Buchanan Street area, when Buchanan was 99% African-American, and now it's about 50-50. Very gentrified now. But yeah, so grew up 12th and Buchanan Street, went to pretty much, Warden, West End, and then Pearl Cone. And so I grew up in a single family household, my mother, and I have one older sister, and my mother always, she always had a job. She always worked. But the thing is, she worked nights. And so it was really hard to kind of have that parent figure, in my life, because she did work, I think it was 2 to 11 every Monday through Friday. So, I would go over my aunt's house when I got out of school, or we would go over our grandparents' house until she got off of work. And, I always remember, I'm usually like almost asleep when she's like, pulling up and picking me up at around 11 o'clock. So, but yeah, single family household. But I think, I still had people in my life that were father figures. And so, having them around and being able to kind of see things in them and just kind of model myself after them. And, a lot of it was, being in the church and then growing up in the church. So yeah, mom, like I said, my mom, she worked hard. We kind of had what we, the things that we needed and wanted, whether it was shoes, clothes, money. She always kind of make sure, I think she kind of, because she did work so much, she kind of like, gave the material things kind of as a, hey, I'm still here. But, I really needed both, but it was okay bringing up.
Yeah, I know that's kind of, difficult sometimes when, as parents, we have to, work a lot of hours, but, we want to spend all that time too. So as kids, we may not, realize when we're younger, how, hard our parents work. But, it's very important to have that balance though, because we want our moms to work to take care of us, but, we love that quality time too as kids. So during like your high school years, was it kind of the same way too, where she was working a lot of hours versus having the more quality time?
During high school, actually, the job that she had where it was like that, night shift, she no longer worked at that. So it was a lot better because, she had a day job. And so she was, usually home around 3 or 4. So it was more of that standard, 9 to 5 type job and, dinner's ready,
Mm.
and that type of thing. So it got a lot better. But what I will mention though is, growing up, I kind of learned to be self-dependent and self-sufficient
Mhm.
just because my mom did work a lot. And especially like as I got into my like teenage years, so like my
Yeah.
13, 14, 15 year teenage years. And, I always, wanted to have my own stuff and I wanted to either, work for it, buy it. So I started at a very early age. And maybe I'm jumping ahead on the questions, but I'll kind of
Oh
go
no, go
through.
ahead.
uh, all right. So I started at a very early age, just like having that entrepreneurship, selling skills. I remember
Yeah.
selling freeze cups. Who remembers freeze cups? Styrofoam
I
cups, you
do.
pour some Kool-Aid in it, you freeze
Yes.
them, and I sold them for 25 cents. And so,
Yes.
people in the neighborhood and back then, there was lots of kids around. You had grown-ups, they're all, around. So I would sell freeze cups. And then I remember at Wharton School, I would go and buy like Jolly Ranchers, Now and Laters, like different candies.
Ooh,
I would have like a little candy shop in my locker that I would sell between class. So I had like
already.
selling candy, freeze cups, and then when I got to the age, I remember I saved up. I think it was about $35. You get a lawnmower back in the day, like a used lawnmower, $35, $40. So I saved up my money out. My mom would give me, and I bought a lawnmower. It was a guy
Wow.
on Buchanan Street. He offered used lawnmowers and stuff. Bought me a
Mm.
lawnmower and started cutting grass. Uh,
Wow.
20 $20 a pop, $20 a yard. And I just would walk, look and see, what houses need their grass cut, knock on the door. And some said no, some said yes. And that was actually pretty successful, because some Saturdays I would come away with like $80, $100. And like
Wow.
now that's not a lot, we don't think about it. But when you're, you don't have any bills and $100, you're like, ooh, I got some money now, So
Yes.
yeah,
That's a lot of
definitely.
money for us young kids.
Yes, yes, it was. So yeah, I definitely, always had that. I want to work for what I want, and just what can I do to make money the right way, the legal way.
I love that you explained all those different areas where you tried to earn money. Well, not tried, you did, with the freeze cups and the candy and, mowing grass, because I think sometimes people can underestimate, kids and how we think.
Yeah.
And, we start to notice certain things. We see what's in demand. We see
Mhm.
kids, we're buying candy. We like candy and we love the freeze cups, in the hood. And then
Yeah.
like, with the grass, somebody somewhere always needs their grass cut. And I think that's good skills that we learn early on that we're noticing, hey, there's a need. I can solve
Right.
their problem and make some money in the
Yeah.
meantime. So I love that you already started early thinking about ways that you can earn money instead of just, waiting on it to be given to you.
Yeah. Because at that
So
time, I couldn't get a real job.
yeah.
So I remember I was waiting. I was like, and first job at Chick-fil-A at 15. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and it's very like, cuz I know sometimes even with my own daughter, I know she was about 16 when she first got her job, but yeah, usually it's around that 14, 15 years
Yeah.
old that, legally you can get a job at, the traditional teen job
Yeah.
places, fast food, grocery stores. But before then, that's how it is. You're thinking of ways
Mhm.
you can earn money at school, in your neighborhood, things like that. So I love hearing that because I think it
Yeah.
inspires other kids, and even adults too, to, hey, there's so many different types of ways to find
Streams of
income.
income. Yeah.
And and
Definitely.
sometimes you just start in your own neighborhoods or just start with things that you
Mhm.
just see every day. And there's somebody somewhere that needs some type of service
Yeah.
and they're willing to pay you for it. So I love that. And
Right.
with your mom, did you all have any conversations as kids about money and how to manage it? Like when you were earning your money as a kid, did she kind of help you manage it or did you kind of have to figure it out on your own?
So I would say, zero talks about money. And so the talks I had about money was, here's $5, go to the store, get a loaf of bread and bring me my change back. That was the talk about money.
That was it.
Or, here's $10, go and get
Yeah,
your sister something to eat.
I can relate to that too.
Go and get your sister something to eat. You and your sister something to eat. And you gotta, be able to manage, okay, I got $10 and I gotta split it between two people. Okay, so that was more of the talks. Yeah, I didn't have any of the, hey, you need to save, or, what are you doing with your money? Or anything as far as like how, like, learning about like housing, buying a house, learning about checking accounts, savings accounts. So, unfortunately, we didn't have those things. My mom didn't own her own house. We
Yeah.
rented. She,
Okay.
she had a check, a bank account, but it was more just for your bills and day to day. It wasn't a savings. And so when we had those things that came up, like rainy days and stuff like that, it was, who can we call to ask if they can, if we can borrow and pay back. So we had a pretty tight knit, close family, and so folks helped each other out. But no, there wasn't any talks about money, and I just really kind of had to learn it on my own, unfortunately, and that was good and bad, because learning on your own kind of teaches you a lot. But then
Yeah.
also it's good to have that structure. If you had that structure where you had someone, whether it was your parents or, someone in the community, in the church, that, kind of talk to
Yeah.
you about, saving finances.
Gotcha. Ugh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for us to reflect on things from the past and see, what things we can learn from it to use going forward in the future too.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So if you could share with me some of your money experiences, this can be from childhood or from your adult years, one that may be like one of your positive experiences of one of your best money experiences. And then the other one could be one of the not so great experiences, or something that, we or, may perceive as one of our negative or difficult money experiences.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll start with the positive experience first. I would say, in college, when, we got those refund checks, and, I was, I was fortunate enough to have, scholarships and financial aid. And so I pretty much went to school for free. And, I had, especially my first 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, I had like so many scholarships, because during high school, I was just applying, writing essays,
Wow.
applying for scholarships. And, I came out with so much money in scholarships. So that first year of refund checks from the school was like, oh, wow, $5,000?
Wow.
Like, okay, nice,
Oh,
nice. So I ended
yeah.
up using that money to on one of those checks to put down on a car. So I bought my first car. And so first car, I remember it was in 2000, what was it? 2004 or five.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it was 2005. Bought my first
Okay.
car, put the money down, and I was ready to go. That was my first time ever, getting a car on my own. Didn't have any help from family. Now, I did have a cosigner, but other than that, as far as the money, like, I put the money down, I paid the note, and then from there, having that car note made me really, realize, oh shoot, now I got some real bills. Because cell phone bill back then, cell phones were like what, $60, $50, if that.
Yep.
But then when you get a $300, $350 car note, you're like, ooh. So yeah, no, that was, I would say, one of my best positive money experiences, just because I could have blown that money. I could have went
Mhm.
shopping or took a trip. Now, not to say I didn't do all that, but I could have, used a lot of that money on stuff that wouldn't have been beneficial to me. But I bought a car, so having that car enabled me to be able to not just work on campus, but be able to drive off campus and have a job. And so my negative money experience, uh, ooh. I'll share this because I know a lot of people can relate or will learn from this. So when I
Yes.
got my MBA, I got, I was still working full time. And, we had the tuition repayment plan with my job. So as long as you made I think a B or an A, you got 100% of that paid back. Well, the thing you don't realize when, especially with master's programs is, let's just say the program is $20,000 a year. Well, if you're, applying for loans, the loan, I think it was the federal financial loan people, they'll send like 30,000. And they're like, oh, well, if you don't use the whole 30, you can send it back. Well, being me and being us, I don't know who's going to send back the money. I mean, you're still ultimately liable for it. So like I said,
Right.
if the year was 20,000 and they sent 30, well, I had $10,000. I could either pay bills, do something with, because you're not paying those loans while you're still in school. They're deferred until you're out of school. So I would say using that money not wisely, and then not sending the money back. Because like I say, you're still ultimately responsible for that. So if you got $30,000 and it only cost you 15 to go to school, you're still responsible for 30,000. And so I think, I'm still paying on student loan debt now. I think I would have less student loan debt if I would have, handled that money a lot better. Or, I could have saved it and, paid off, a huge chunk of that student loan. So I really kind of, look back and, say, man, I really messed that up, and, definitely learn from that experience.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing those two. I think with the first one, with the good one, with the car, when you mentioned the refund. So when you said refunds, that is so. First of all, congratulations on getting all those scholarships. Because when we were at Pearl, I didn't really know the importance of applying for scholarships. The only one I got was the project grant, $500 a semester scholarship. But I didn't go and be proactive and find other scholarships to apply for. I really wish that I did, but I didn't. I just filled out my FAFSA and took out all these student loans that I really didn't need because I was, in state, stayed right up the street, went to TSU, Tennessee State University. So my expenses wasn't as high when you compare it to how much student loan debt I had. So I'm glad that you got refunds, but they were from scholarships, not refunds from the student loans, so that's really good because it lets other people know that, hey, there's money out there. You just have to spend the time to apply for, like you mentioned, writing those essays. Essays aren't fun to write all the time. Some people like it. Most of us don't. But that time could turn into free money for school. So I'm glad that you took the time to do that and actually purchase something that was going to help you instead of, like you said, blowing it all on just vacation and shopping. It's okay to do some, but at least that's not all you did. And then when you mentioned your MBA program, that's how I felt when I got student loans. I remember someone telling me in the financial aid office that, for example, one semester I would get $5,000 for student loans. And at the financial aid office, they said, hey, if you don't need the whole $5,000, just put in there how much you need and then don't try to get anything more. But I was like, if they're going to give me $5,000, I would take the whole $5,000.
I know, just starting out working and, you got bills and expenses. You're like, well, I'll pay this money back. Hopefully I have a better job in 2 or 3 years. So.
Yes, that's how I would feel. I was like, you know what? This is years later. So I can figure that out later. But right now, I would take this $5,000. So I can just imagine you with that MBA program getting $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. We're in a position that we're hoping that we're going to get an opportunity that's bigger and better so we can easily pay this off. And I know that's the mindset I had. So I'm glad you shared that because that's what a lot of us go through is that, we don't want debt, but sometimes we feel like that may be our only option at the moment. And then I know when you mentioned, still paying off student loans, I still have student loans. That's my last debt that I have to pay off is my student loan debt. And I'm 35 now, and I did let them sit for a long time.
Okay.
You know, I let them sit for a long time, and the balance just got bigger and bigger because they just sitting there, adding more interest, you know, every single month. So I'm glad that you acknowledged, you know, what you experienced and that you're still in the process of getting that student loan debt, you know, paid off one day.
I'll end that question with a quote my mom always said. I'll be dead and gone before they get that money out of me. I'm like, how long do we pay on student loans? 100 years? Gosh.
Exactly.
I'll be dead and gone before the balance is at zero. But no.
I think a lot of us have that thought, like, will I even still be alive when I pay this off, or will I die and be gone? You know, so I like that quote. It's like a good reminder that it's like we laugh because it is funny, but then you really think about it like, ooh, how long will this really take? Especially when you start looking at the balance and how much you're paying every month and the interest rate, and you like kind of calculating your current age, and you wonder like, how old will I really be when this is paid off? So at least we know we're still being proactive and we're working towards, you know, paying it off, because, you know, we did borrow it. So we want to make sure we get rid of it. And when I do, I'm throwing me a student loan debt-free party.
Oh, man.
Or going on a trip just to celebrate that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I love it. Thanks for sharing those two. I think that'll be really helpful for a lot of people. All right, so I want to move on to your business, Snacks LLC. So I really love your vision behind Snacks LLC, and I want you to let us know, you know, what's the why behind the company, the brand, and what experience led you to creating the company.
Okay. Yeah, so I got my experience, so I'll kind of give the background. I took a solo trip, I think it was last year, a solo trip to Washington, D.C. I had always wanted to go to Hampton University, not Hampton, is it Howard? I would always wanted to go to Howard University's homecoming because, you know, just being in school growing up, you hear about Howard University's homecoming, all the celebrities go there and it'd be lit, and especially with the black bands. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go by myself. I don't care if nobody want to go. I'm gonna go by myself. That way, if I don't like something, I don't have to do, you know, because when you travel with people, you're having to kind of accommodate and do what they like. So I said, look, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna go to the museums. I'm gonna do this. So I went to Howard University's homecoming, and they had the yard set up. They had vendors and booths, and I came across this black lady who was selling some gear, some merch, and it was said "Black don't crack." I was like, okay, that's a saying that's been around for hundreds of years. Black don't crack, and I was like, that's pretty trendy just to kind of, you know, brand that. And she had it trademarked. So I was like, okay, so she has it trademarked, and, you know, no one can use that slogan on their merch and make money off of it. And then I started looking at her website and researching and kind of seeing her story behind it. And it kind of inspired me to kind of, you know, launch my company, Snacks. And so with that, you know, I would say it took about 6 to 9 months for me to really kind of, you know, dig deep and develop the business, the slogan, the actual logo, and you know, filing. So I had to file with the state of Tennessee, and you know, just all the paperwork. You had to do your federal paperwork. But yeah, that vision started with me going to that Howard University homecoming, seeing that booth with her merch, Black Don't Crack. And I was like, you know, I can do this. And it was just inspiring just to see other Black vendors. Because when you go to something like that, like a Black HBCU homecoming, you see all the merch, especially like TSU, you know, the homecoming, the parade, you see all that, those tents and merch set up. You're like, man, you know, folks making some money. And my goal was to really, you know, before the pandemic, really kind of focus on those HBCU homecomings, you know, rent a booth, a tent, or whatever it may be, go to these different homecomings and sell my merch. So that was kind of the vision behind it. Now I'm in the stage, so I've kind of done a lot of the planning part of it. Now I'm in the stage of really kind of getting my website and getting the type of merch that I want. I've started, so here's I have a mug. This is the logo. Cool. So I
Yes.
developed that logo. Here's my slogan. It's trademark two-piece snack. So I'm sure folks are wondering, or you're wondering, what is a two-piece snack? Well, you're looking at a two-piece snack.
All right.
So, and I'm sure people have heard, oh, she's a snack, or he's a snack, or that's a two-piece snack, or I'm a whole meal. And so the slogan is centered around that. Hey, I look good, I feel good. I'm a snack. And
Yes.
two-piece snack and a biscuit. You can add a biscuit on there. You can be a meal. You can be, a three-piece and a biscuit. So yeah, it's funny, but it's also empowering where, folks can feel good about themselves, and let, others know, hey, you're looking at a snack. I'm a snack here. Here's one of my bags.
Yes.
So actually, these are just some prototypes. Yeah, so these are like
cool.
the grocery bags.
Yeah. Oh yeah, need those.
Yeah. And so yeah, this is just like
I love it.
Some of the stuff that I've created with it. But like I said, it's hard, working full time and then, also trying to, have a side business. I procrastinate a lot, unfortunately. I will admit that. But I think once I'm like got some what they call it, some meat in the game, once I have finances involved, because I'm having to, pay these states and sales and use taxes. I mean, even though, you may not be selling a lot, you're still having to file each month what you're doing. And then I think one time I forgot to file and they charged me late penalties on. I was like, I didn't make no money and I got to pay money out. So yeah, my next steps for the business is, like I said, creating that website. That's one of the hardest parts, is getting the website created. And I've just kind of stalled on that. But yeah, there's more to come with two-piece snacks. But everything from, like I showed you, the mugs, the bags, the shirts, the hats, and the ideal is to create kind of a lifestyle brand. So we'll try to branch out. I'll try to branch out even to, possibly actually branded snack items.
Ooh, I love that. I can't wait. I am so excited. I can't wait to support you and get that merch. And I love how you mentioned that, it's funny, but it's also, empowering. And I think even before 2020, but even more important now with all these things going on with the pandemic. And I feel that there are more of a need of service and products that make us feel good, make us smile, make us laugh. And I think your company, your brand is one of those. It's just going to contribute to that. So that's what I like to see. That's what I like to hear. And I like that you mentioned that you went to Howard University and was inspired. And that's sometimes where it starts, is you go somewhere, you see something, you hear something, and you're inspired by someone else. So it's like, we just, sometimes we don't even realize, just like you're inspiring somebody else somewhere, whether they, announce that to you or not. So somebody is always watching and listening to the things that we're doing. So I'm glad that you shared that. And another thing I'm glad you mentioned was about the fees, or like taxes, things you have to pay, even if you don't make any money. I felt that same way when I created my LLC. The first time I got that, document from the comptroller's office and the Secretary of State in Texas, I said, wait, hold up. I didn't even really make any money. I got to pay. And it's just certain things. And I kind of felt like, and that was like in the beginning, like, cause we're learning, I don't have anyone in my family or that was close to me that could really give me the big rundown of, being an entrepreneur or business owner. When it comes to taxes and the financial part of it. And I was just like, okay, it's not just getting an LLC, like that. Running a business costs money, other than, we know with purchasing, inventory, and marketing, we know those fees. But on this other side, even if you don't make any money,
you sometimes having to pay.
So I think that's something that's really important to know, is that, hey, while we're out here starting these businesses, we really have to take the time to understand all aspects of business. And it's hard to do it by yourself, but at the beginning, it's like you are every person. You're doing all the jobs. So it's important to acknowledge those big areas where maybe we need to hire someone, or just even have a free consultation and just have a little conversation with someone just to see what information you can use to help yourself until you get to that level where you want to actually hire someone. So, I totally feel you. When you said that, I was like, man, I remember getting my first letter.
Because you end up initially having to pay like those fees, so like a $500 fee, and then from there you got to file and do this. But I would say, the hardest part was for me was the whole trademark, because going through the U.S. Trademark Office and getting your slogan trademark, it's like a 9-month process. Like you literally sit and wait for 6 months to see if your trademark is going to get approved. Once it gets approved, then you have to speak with an attorney. The attorney has to make sure there's no other companies or brands. Because I had to change my slogan. I had to change it from this the two piece. They were saying like that could be a women's bathing suit or something like that. So they said it was too generic. There's a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes that you're working with the trademark office. But yeah, once it's approved, you have that trademark. And like I say, with the Black Don't Crack, people have been saying that for years, but whoever trademarks it first, they have the rights to that slogan. And I know here in Atlanta, I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and everybody, when I first moved here, it was like, oh, that's a snack. Oh, that's a snack. And I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, they look good. They look good, Oh, I was like, okay. So then I started saying, oh, I'm a snack. That's a snack over there.
Yes.
Like, let me trademark this and make some money off of this. Because folks been saying that. I'm sure you've heard it. Folks been saying that for years. Look, let me know if you see somebody with my slogan on their stuff now.
I'm like, hold up. I know somebody that got that trademark. Yes, I love it. So I'm glad you're sharing all these different areas of running a business. And I like that you mentioned, you're working full time while you're building this. And I think a lot of times people, sometimes we may want to, because everyone that wants to be an entrepreneur or business owner, some people still love their full-time job and want to do both. They want to, work for their employer and run their own business. And some people's dream or goal is to eventually leave working for someone else and just work for themselves full time. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I know it's possible to do both. It's just whatever you desire. You can work for yourself full time, or you can still work in your career with your employer and be successful as a business owner. But I'm glad you mentioned the procrastination, because I've been that way too. Like, we have good intentions, like we want to get this stuff done, but sometimes it can be overwhelming a lot, especially in the beginning, because you're doing everything.
No,
you're doing everything. So
I found it helpful to kind of set time aside once a week to work on something, whether it's the business or self or finances or budgeting. Like, if I kind of block my schedule and set time aside, that kind of helps me at least, because once you get in the habit and routine of doing that, then you look forward to, all right, I got my hour on Saturday. This is what I'm going to focus on. This is what I'm going to do. And you walk away from that feeling like you've accomplished something. So I think that's one thing that we kind of lack is, setting schedules and setting time aside. Because if you're working a day job, what is that, 9 to 10 hours that you're setting aside for that? So how come we can't set aside a couple hours for ourselves or something that's personal?
Yes, that's so important. The time blocking helps me too. I live in my Google Calendar. So if it's not on my Google Calendar, it's not going to happen. But I know there has to be room and have to be flexible for, unexpected things that come up. So sometimes if people, call me or text me and I can't respond right away or not at all that day, it's not that I'm ignoring you or anything like that, but sometimes it's just, I'm trying to do better. But with returning phone calls, but I always tell people, you may have to text me or if you don't leave me a message or send me some email or something, because sometimes we can't, sometimes I may not be able to call back right away, but I think with me, the time blocking helps because, like you said, if you can set some time to be at your employer office and work that job, there's things that we want to do outside of that job. So you got to time block it, whether if it's us building our own business, or if it's doing stuff that may not necessarily be involved with making money. Maybe it's some things we want to do for fun or just
Yeah.
relax, things like that. So that's important. The time blocking for things that has to do with business and personal.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, I love it. All right. So I want to know about financial freedom and, what does it mean to you? To a lot of us, there's no necessarily like right or wrong answers because we're all different. We have different needs, different wants, different desires. So being financially free is going to mean different things to different people. So I just want to know for you, Norman, what does financially free mean to you?
So financially free means that I am, of course, debt free, and debt meaning I don't owe anyone anything. And so only thing that I'm paying is my utilities and
Mhm.
I guess, things like insurance. But as far as homes, cars, credit cards, all of that is what I consider debt. It's something that you owe each month, to a bank or to a loan place. And so for me, financially free is being debt free, free from a car note, free from a mortgage, free from a credit card, payment. And credit cards aren't bad. A lot of times people like to say credit cards, you get in debt and you get in trouble. Well, it's unfortunately it's the person that gets into debt, it's not the credit card. And so credit cards will help you build your credit. It will show that you're credit worthy. When you go and apply for, a loan and you have a 10-year excellent payment history with your credit card company, that's going to look good on your behalf. If you don't have any credit cards, then sometimes that shows that you don't have the credit. You don't have that credit worthiness. But no, definitely want to be out of debt. I want to be able to, like I say, only have those expenses that are mandatory, which are like utilities and insurance, and be able to
Yes.
use that funds that were previously going to debt payments and
Hmm.
invest, real estate, stocks, having those rainy day funds, and just being like
Yeah.
financially comfortable.
Yes. Oh, I love it, Norman. I'm with you on the debt-free part. Whenever I receive money, and when you think about just present day and in the past when I had to make payments on debt, it's
Mhm.
just like, ugh, I have to give this up to
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I know I borrowed this money, but that's what it's about too, like the being the debt-free. Because sometimes I visualize like if I didn't have debt payments or this debt, what are the other things that I can do? And that's what keeps motivating me to
Yeah.
stay on track with, paying off debt because I know once I finish paying it off, it's going to free up so much more money to do more of the things that I really want to do,
Mhm.
which is, investing and traveling. And it's just so much that's on my list. And I think having, the
Yeah.
debt, it can weigh you down too. And I like what you mentioned about the credit cards. I know there's a big debate on credit cards, if they're bad or good, but you're right, it starts with the person first. Because even me personally, when I first got into credit card debt, I didn't have any good history in the beginning. It was just pretty much, I got it and maxed it out. And that was it. So I'm glad you mentioned it starts with the person and your, money behaviors, how you're dealing with
Right.
money and debt that you're borrowing. So you got to make sure that you have smart money habits. So no matter decisions that you're making, that is working for you. And of course, that we learn from the lessons. We all make decisions that are great and some not so great, but it's
Right.
about what do we really learn from it so we can do better
Mhm.
next time. So I like your financially free explanation. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. So I want to know your thoughts on wealth and financial education, financial literacy in Black communities. So, we grew up in neighborhoods that was predominantly Black and considered lower income. So I just want to know, what do you think that we can do to elevate ourselves financially, not just individually, but as a community in the type of communities that we grew up in? Like, what do you feel is missing or that we can do?
So yeah, like you stated, growing up in a predominantly African American community, lower income, we're not taught those lessons about money, and so I think there needs to be a focus in the schools but then also for nonprofit organizations, so like your United Ways and those organizations on financial literacy. And so start them while they're young. You start them while they're young. They'll hopefully keep and retain those things that they learned as they get older. I think focusing on, if you have $10, you save 10% of that. You save $1. Every pay period, you need to save at least 10% of that. And you may have to dig into that savings, every now and then, but make it to where it's a life or death type situation, because a pair of shoes isn't a life or death situation. But starting them while they're young, getting them while they're in school. I remember in elementary, middle school, we didn't have any classes on finances. We didn't talk about any of that. And I think if I would, and you're not gonna move or be able to hit 100% of the people that you teach this. But if you can get 50%, 60%, and at least something where they can say, "Oh yeah, I remember that. I learned about that in school." As far as balancing a checkbook, I remember when I got my checking account, and I'm like, "Oh crap!" Like, did this, trying to balance a checkbook, and I wasn't taught that, so I had to kind of learn on my own, And that was back in the days when folks was writing checks for everything. You didn't have Cash App, Zelle, and all that. Right. So I know I overdraw my account, several times, and I'm like, how in the world did I do that? I thought I had $25 in there, and I had $5, and so balance the check, but just be able to. I think now even I'm guilty of this. I don't look at what I spend. I mean, I have an idea of what I have in the bank, and sometimes I don't even like looking in the bank, because then I'm like, "Oh, I got that much? Okay, well let's go to Lenox Mall." But I have a bad time of like logging. So if, let's just say on a Saturday, if I get gas, if I go get something to eat, if I buy a shirt, I'm not logging that. And then, like, let's say at the end of the day or the week, I'm not looking to see what I spent. And not to say I got it like that, but I think I need to do a better job personally, looking at what I spend on a regular basis. That will help me realize, okay, TJ Maxx and Marshalls, need to cut it back. But then also it will help me be able to, really stay to my budget, and set those goals, because when we don't stay on our budget, it's basically a free for all. It's like, it's whatever. And that's when we run into those issues of over withdrawing, or, spending the money that was due for the mortgage next month. So really, it's sad to see. I think schools and people are really getting away from just the whole financial literacy thing, and we should be getting back to that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like even before high school, I don't remember ever having any conversations about money at home or in school. Even in school, now I don't remember it being any financial classes in high school, but if it was, I didn't take any. I didn't really know about any. So I think it does start when we're younger, because if you think about it, as kids, even as kids, we learned a lot, and kids nowadays, they're learning so much. So it's not that they can't learn. It's just, I think sometimes adults don't know any better. And then we just don't try to learn to help the kids. Or, I feel like if we don't really understand, we got to bring in some people who are experienced and understand. And I think just teaching us the basic life skills when it comes about money, like you mentioned, writing a check or balancing a checkbook. I was the same way. Like, I remember when I first got my first checking account, and when I was in college, and I was just like, what is this? And then how your available balance may say it's this, but then it really may not be what you have, because these other
all that stuff comes out, and then you're like, oh, wait, zero.
Right. And back then, like years ago, like there's some laws in place where banks can't charge you multiple overdraft fees in one day. Like, but back in the day, if you had 6 transactions, they could charge you, and you're in the negative, they could charge you 6 overdraft fees in one day. But now they can't. They can only do 1 per day. Yeah. But they will line them up and give it to you one after the other. If you had all those transactions that was negative. But I think it's simple things like that. It's how to use a checking account, how to understand what the available balance is and writing a check, and that, hey, you may have written that check and give it to the grocery store or wherever you spent it, but you got to leave that $25 sitting in that bank account, so when the check go through, the money will be there. So it's just things like that that we underestimate, that we need to teach. Now, nowadays there's still checks, but nobody's really writing checks like they used to. So like you mentioned, the Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, all these electronic quicker options are out there. So we need to make sure that we're teaching kids how to properly use those too. So I think it does start with teaching kids when they're really young, or just starting, where they are and having those conversations and talking about it. And if we know we're not sure about what to do with money, we have to have enough, we have to kind of like let our pride go and other egos and things like that, and know that, hey, I may not understand this either, but let's, bring in some other teachers or some other people in our family or our community that do well with money, or that are professionals that could come in and talk to some of these kids. Because I just wished I had someone to talk to me. And my daughter, Destiny, she's a senior in high school now, and at her school, they have some financial literacy classes, and she'll come home and she'll be like, she was like, I already know this stuff because you told me about this stuff. And it makes me feel like so good, because I'm like, it's like some of the basic, financial things. But when she says she already knew this, then she did learn some new things. But just to know that some of the stuff they talked about, she already heard before, it just made me feel like really like, proud as a mom that I taught her something, at least something she listened to. Kids, sometimes we don't listen to our parents, but I was like, at least she remembers something, that I said. So I love that. I do agree that we got to be more proactive in learning about money, and not just having that one-time conversation, but continuous learning.
It's a continuing conversation for sure.
Yeah. So when we were at, Pearl-Cohn High School, because I don't want to say we didn't have any financial literacy classes. I just don't remember us having any. And if we did, I didn't know. So I just want to know, after you graduated high school and you got into, started going to college, and even after college, like, what do you feel like you wish you would have known in high school? I know we kind of touched on it already, talking about, bringing more financial education into the Black communities, but is it something else you feel like, oh, I wish I would have known this about money or about life in general, leaving high school? Because there's a lot of high school students that I would meet in college, and they already knew some stuff that I felt like, Dad, I didn't learn that. And you a freshman in college too, and I didn't hear any of this stuff.
So I think one is, we talked on about the credit cards, but I remember, week one, when I got to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, you had, people set up, offering college students credit cards. And, I had never had a credit card, and I was like, ooh, a credit card. Ooh, yeah, that sounds good. I can get my books on this or something. And, I think they kind of prey on the college students, because, I got that one credit card, and then in the mail the next week, 2 more started coming. And I didn't know that, hey, I probably just needed 1 and not 5. And by the end of my senior year, I had like a Discover card, a MasterCard, American Express. And I'm thinking like, ooh, I got, look at my wallet. I got credit card. And it was all cute and nice and everything until, me, working, graduating college and not having that job to be able to pay for all those credit cards. And so really, I just wish I would have learned like about, managing debt, managing credit cards, only applying and only having one credit card and using it only for emergency purposes. So car breaks down, you get sick and have to go to the doctor, stuff like that. Because I wasn't taught that. My parents didn't have credit cards, so this was just like a whole new thing for me. And it was like, ooh, so you mean I can spend $300 and I only got to pay $30 next month on that $300? Well, by the time that $300 and you that $30 and the interest, you end up, and I like now, and they've changed that. They changed the law because of this, because of back then, you didn't know how long it would take you to pay off your credit card. So now I know a law passed where now it'll take you 15 years if you pay the minimum balance. It'll take you, if you pay $200, it'll take you 3 years. And I think that helps us, it helps consumers in general, because we're thinking $30 minimum balance. Oh yeah, I'm good.
Right.
You're paying that $30 for the next 15 years.
Yes.
So, yeah, just those life lessons. Mainly, like I said, the credit card issues.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because having that visual, seeing if you pay this amount, this how long it's going to take, the visual does help, because a lot of us aren't going in and calculating it ourselves to see how long would it take, so having that reminder pop up will either let you know, yeah, I want to keep, kind of coasting with my minimum payment, or you may think, you know what, I think I want to try to pay this off way earlier than 15 years. So you may want to get more aggressive. So I do like that there's that visual out there to remind us, putting those credit card payments in alignment with our other financial goals, because we don't want to pay on credit cards for 20 years.
And they didn't, like I said, they didn't have that visual on statements back. Definitely it's great to have that.
I love it. So now we're going to go into just some fun questions for you, because I want other people out there to get to know you a little bit better. I think it's really important to have these money conversations and talk about ways that we can elevate financially, but it's also fun to really know some other deeper things that, makes us smile and laugh and get to know you a little bit better. So I want to know, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, favorite movie. It would have to be, so I like comedy. I like Black comedy. The one that just really pops into my head is Friday, Ice Cube.
Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
I love that one too. That's one of those movies you could watch a million times and you still laugh like it was the first time you've seen it. So I love Friday too. All right. What is your favorite season? Spring, summer, winter, fall?
So I am a Libra. I was born in September. It's not fall. It's definitely not winter. It's spring. And it's spring because I would always remember spring as like, what is it, that March, April, May. I remember, sitting in class, looking outdoors, out the window, and you see the flowers blooming. You know that it's like 1 month left of school because, the weather's starting to get nice. And so I just always love spring because, you got that, everything dies in winter, grass is brown, flowers are dead, and spring is like a new growth. It's like it's a new beginning type thing for, a lot of things like trees and flowers. But then it feels good to me just to kind of see that stuff growing.
Yes, I love that. I love spring. I love summer because I like the heat.
Okay. All right.
But I love spring. I like the way you put that. Like you said, it's like the new beginnings and things coming out, the flowers and trees. So I love the explanation. It kind of gives you this fresh start type of feeling. Yeah. Okay. So next I want to know, what is your favorite food?
Okay. Ooh. So favorite meal or food?
Yeah, it could be meal or food, yeah.
Snack? No. So my favorite meal, I know, right? My favorite meal, I love some chicken and dressing, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, and candy yams. I know how to make all of that except the macaroni and cheese, by the way.
Now I want to eat and go lay down now. Right. That's the put you to sleep food. Okay, so what's a book that you would recommend other people to read?
So I actually have my let me get it real quick.
Yeah, share with us.
So this book here, Thinking Fast and Slow.
Cool.
So yeah, this is one of the books that I read when I was getting my MBA. And it's thick, so you probably a lot of people look at it and be like, oh my goodness, I'm not, but it's very beneficial. It talks about everything from just the psychology of how we think, how we act, and the way that we, handle things. So thinking fast and slow. And a lot of us sometimes think fast because, in this 24/7 world, we're like, gotta, make a quick decision, gotta do this. Consequences that we didn't, and it's like, okay, you take your time. But sometimes we can take too much time, and you don't want to harbor and take too much time on thinking on some decisions, because then we end up making mistakes. So this book here tells you how to have that balance. It is by Daniel Kahneman. Thinking Fast and Slow.
Yes.
So like I said, very beneficial. It may take you a couple of weeks or months to read it, but it has a lot of life skills in it that very beneficial to me.
Thank you for sharing that. I haven't read that before, so I'm adding that one to my list of books to read, because I'm always looking for, and I think a lot of us out there are finding ways to continue to educate ourselves and elevate. And that thing is reading some books, because there's a lot of good knowledge in books. So thanks for sharing that one.
And it talks, and it kind of talks about as well, impulse buying, impulse decisions. Ooh. And I know I kind of have those impulse buying decisions sometimes, and it's, you really got to, think about, do you really need this? Is this something that is going to be beneficial to your overall financial health? And what, a lot of things that we buy lose value as soon as we buy them. Cars, clothes, shoes. So, it's nice to have those things, but am I going to spend $500 on a pair of sneakers that are not going to have a benefit to me? What is the resale value of those $500 sneakers? It's probably going to be like $100.
Right.
Versus,
yeah.
I take that $500 and I put that in a CD or a money market account or a Roth IRA, where that $500 is going to build and make me money.
Yes.
Because I know I have like just an online savings account through American Express. And, I have X amount of dollars going in there. I'll let you $50 of paper going in there that I don't touch. And, when interest rates are way up like they were 2 years ago, you're making $3, $4, $5 off of that $50, a month. And so that's money making money for you. Now, are those $500 sneakers gonna make some money? They may make you look good, but you go to some party and somebody step on them, those shoes are done. So just making, trying to avoid making impulse buying decisions.
That's really important, because I think a lot of us, we have to switch from being just only a consumer to an investor as well, because like you said, it's nice to have those nice things, and it's not that we can't have nice things and invest, but sometimes we got to be mindful of, like, okay, if I can put $500 into these shoes, have I ever put $500 into my savings account or into my investment account at one time? And I like also that you mentioned that you have $50 going to your savings. Sometimes people underestimate putting in $50 or $20 at a time, because it can add up. You don't have to, because for me, I used to think, oh, I'm gonna wait till I can put hundreds of dollars in an account or thousands. But then I realized, you have to start where you are. And and even $50, like if you think about, you said every time you get paid, you put in $50. Just think about after a whole year, you put in that $50. You're gonna look back and say, wow, I got a nice little chunk. $50 sounds small, but once you look over a period of time, months and years, it will add up. And then whatever type of account it's in, it's going to be more than the $50 you put in there. So I like that you mentioned and that you shared, you have a certain amount going in an account that you don't touch.
And I like the
That's
account
important to have.
It's hard for you to be able to withdraw, because I can go online, I can transfer it from my online savings to my normal checking, but like the accounts where they send you a debit card for a savings account, like, what's the point of a savings account? I don't need a debit card. Don't send me a debit card.
So, that's where you get. That's where you get.
I found online savings. I was just saying, I found that online savings accounts are pretty helpful for me, because it makes it a little harder for you to get that money, because when you do have to transfer, it takes 3 to 5 days. So you're like, oh, well, I really want to buy this. It's going to take 3 to 5 days for me to get that money. I'll pass.
Yes, I can relate to that because I used to have savings accounts where it was linked to my primary checking account. And if you log in on your like online banking and you
Mhm.
see the accounts connected, it's easy to just, I'm gonna just transfer over 20. I'm gonna
Yeah,
transfer over a little 100. Next thing you know, your savings account is at zero. You ain't got no more money in your savings account because
yeah,
it's just easy to transfer. But like you said, if you have a savings that's in a different bank than where your checking account is in, and it takes a little bit more time. Yes, like you said, you can get it if you need it, but there's like that little delay. And by the time it's hit your account, you changed your mind. You're like, I don't think I even want what I was going to buy.
right.
So I have my accounts in an online savings account as well that's
Oh,
separate
good.
from my primary checking accounts too, because and now that I did that, it is a whole lot easier to be more disciplined with getting
Yes,
it when you may not really need it. So I love it.
good.
All right. So traveling. So what is your favorite place to travel? This can be like a place that you've traveled in the past that is your favorite, or a place like that you like to travel to, often.
Okay. So I love warm weather and beaches. And so
Mm.
uh, probably one of the most memorable that I enjoyed was the US and British Virgin Islands. And down in the
Mm.
Caribbean. I took a cruise, and those were two of the stops, the British Virgin Islands. I loved it because you have kind of that perfect backdrop of the green lush mountains, and then below you have the white sandy beaches and the blue water. So it's that picture
Oh.
perfect calendar. And I just really enjoyed it, had a good time, did some excursions. So like a place that I would fly back to and just spend like a week would be probably the British Virgin Islands or the US Virgin Islands. But I love
Wow.
traveling. This year in March, I was supposed to go international for the first time. So I've been to
Wow.
Mexico and I've been kind of on the cruises, but I was supposed to go to Portugal. Trip was paid
Mhm.
for, everything was done, and of course, COVID hit, and canceled that trip. So we're looking to reschedule that for 2021, hopefully. But yeah, Portugal
Yeah.
would have been awesome.
Oh.
But I love traveling.
Yeah, I love it. I think a lot of us that do like to travel have been quite disappointed and a little sad that we haven't been able to travel. But I know COVID has affected a lot of people, health wise. So I do acknowledge that a lot of people have been, in the health wise and financially impacted. But with the travel industry, I know people are back to traveling a little bit, but of course, we know it's not like it was used to be because when you do travel, it's like you can't really
You're
do stuff
restricted.
like you normally would because like there's either you can't do a certain activity, or if you do it, you got to have your mask on, and then you have, of course, I want to make sure it's safe, of course. You have to
Right.
have your mask on, and then some stuff is like you have that limited capacity of number of people that could be in an area. So even if you go to a place where you can go during this pandemic, the experience may not necessarily be the same due to everything that's going on. So I've had some places that I had in plans to go this year, and I'm just like, well, I guess you have to roll it over to 2021 and see what that's looking like. So Portugal, I've never been there before. I'm gonna add that to my list.
Right.
I've never been there,
Check it
but
out.
now that you said it, I was like, ooh, let me add that to my list.
All right.
All right. So the next one is I want to know what's one thing that you, other than traveling,
Mhm.
that you like to do that doesn't involve earning money? Like something that's like a favorite that you would do like in your free time.
So I enjoy hiking. So hiking, especially in the spring and fall, I enjoy just going on a hike with friends,
Mm.
or even sometimes I'll go by myself. And I'm not talking about this extreme backpack hiking where I'm in the mountains and camping, but just doing on some little trails and doing like a 3 mile trail here in Georgia and Atlanta area. We have a lot of like parks and state parks, and so I just try to
Mm.
make it my goal to visit different state park a month and kind of go on these trails. And I think for me, hiking is relaxing. It kind of
Mhm.
just gets you away from the cell phones. You may not have service out there. It gets you away from the technology, the hustle and bustle. It just kind of makes you kind of
Yeah.
appreciate, God's green earth and the things that, we don't see on a daily basis. So I enjoy hiking.
Yeah. I love that. And I like I like you clarified not the extreme
Yeah.
hiking in the mountains, but I know that is something that like at the beginning of the year, that's something that I wanted to do. I was like, well, let me start in the state that I'm in Texas. And I looked up all the state parks in Texas and I had a list of all the ones I wanted to go to. And that was around because I wanted to start around spring break. And that's when in March, that's when everything happened. But that's still on my list to do is because before I lived in Texas, I was living in Denver, Colorado. And that's when I got more taste of, outdoor activities. And now that I'm here in, Dallas Fort Worth area, I'm like, I don't have any type of mountains and stuff to look at like I did in Colorado. Right. But I was like, let me go to all the state parks. They're beautiful and have all these different things. So that's something that's still on my list. I like to hike too, and I like to be in nature and see just, peacefulness. Now, my only issue is I can't stand bugs. So I freak out when I see like spiders and stuff. And like, I don't know, like I've never been like camping or anything, but that's something that I always said I wanted to do just to say I did it. But I don't know if I would have to be like in a cabin at night and go out, or if I can actually sleep in a tent, like in the woods or something.
He like, nah. Do a cabin. We're close enough to the woods.
Yeah, so I was like, ooh, because I know like sometimes I wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Okay. So if I wake up in my tent and I start hearing some weird noises, I'm probably gonna freak out.
You wake up and go back to sleep, you're just laying, you're like, okay. Then your mind's really gonna start playing tricks on you.
And when you out there in the woods, you gonna hear some stuff. So I'm gonna be probably paranoid.
I mean, I hear stuff when I'm here in the city, and you hear birds and this and that. You really gonna hear some stuff out in the woods.
But yeah, I'm glad you shared that because that's on my to-do list too, is to continue being out in nature. So I love that. So this last one is, what would you do if you had $500,000? What is the first 3 things you would do? The first 3 things.
Ooh, first 3. You want me to be honest, or you want me?
I want the real. I want the real and raw, the truth. What's the first 3 things you would do? No right or wrong or perfect answers. But yeah, give me the real.
So to be honest, I probably would go ahead and just get debt free. So my debt doesn't wouldn't take the whole 500,000. I hope not. But no, I would definitely go ahead and just pay off, unfortunately, those student loans. They finna get all of that money. Pay off my student loan, like just pay off the student loans, pay off the credit card bills, and then just start with a clean slate. Second thing I would do, I'm a giving person. So, I can't, the first step I took care of myself. Got myself out of debt. I'm good. Second step, and so mom and sister and family's gonna be taken care of. I don't know how much I would give them, but they'll be they'll be good. So give something to others, and then third, we about to travel, turn up, party, shop, buy, because hey, I'm out of debt. Remember, I don't have any debt. Yes. My family's taking my goods. So yeah, definitely I would, enjoy myself. Now, I'm not saying I would just spend the whole thing because, after that I would, invest and buy, property and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna, treat myself nice and take me a trip and, just kind of relax and enjoy it. And I'm a pretty frugal, cheap, I wouldn't say cheap, but I'm frugal when it comes to, shopping. I'll find that same $200 Nike sweatshirt. I'll find it at Marshall's or online for $20 because I don't like paying full retail. So, if something's not on sale, I ain't buying it. And I'm just, you remember back when we were in high school, the Jordans that came out, everybody had the Jordans. They was like, what, maybe $100, $120. You go to the store now, these Jordans is $250, and I'm like, them the same one they just re-released that we had when we was in high school. I should have kept those.
Right.
So, I'm not the type to spend $200 and $300 on tennis shoes. That's just not where I value. But that's not to say I don't like nice things. Now I may go to, you know, Macy's or Saks and where's the 70% off rack with an extra 30%, because that same sweater that was $300 is now $30. So
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
I love that. Got to catch a deal. It's like once you start experiencing getting stuff at a discount, sometimes it makes it more difficult to be paying for everything at like full like retail price. So I like getting a discount too.
Yeah. So yeah, those will be my top 3: pay off a debt, take care of family, give, and then kind of treat myself.
Yes, I love it. Got a good mix of, all those 3 areas. Yeah. All right, so now we have the final thing here, my affirmation cards. Ooh. So I already shuffled them, so I'm gonna pick a financial affirmation card, and I want you to just tell me how it makes you feel or how it relates to your own personal financial journey or life journey.
Okay.
All right, so let me pick one. All right, yours is, I am in control of my financial future. How does that make you feel, or how does it relate to your own personal or professional journey?
So being in control of my financial future, I think it makes me feel responsible. It makes me feel happy. And I think I need to do a better job of helping others learn from the things that I've done and help them get to a financially stable, a financially free future. Like I say, I admit I felt that I probably could do a better job with family and friends. And that's going to be one of my goals for 2021. I have 6 nieces and nephews. And so, I try to instill in them, saving and working. And, I think I can do a better job at, maybe once a month, sitting them down and teaching them the things that we talked about, financial literacy. Because that way, I'm actually doing what I preach. But financially free, being in control of my financial future just feels good. It feels responsible. Mm-hmm. It feels happy. It feels, not having to worry. And, it feels, like I say, it just feels good.
Yes, I love it. And I like that you shared, making more time to sit with your nieces and nephews and teach them what you know about money so it can help them and they can be more prepared than we were at an earlier age. So I love that giving back and paying it forward to our family. Yes. All right. So final question. I said the affirmation cards was last, but
you're good.
I promise this is the last one. All right.
We're having a good time.
Yes, me too. Okay. So final question here is, sometimes we are asked what advice we would give to our younger self. But I want to know, what advice would you give to yourself right in this moment as it relates to your financial journey or your life journey?
Let's see. That's a hard one. Advice I would give to myself now. I would say, be better at budgeting, having a budget and sticking to it. And so, I tend to, especially if I would go out, I tend to just, the budget's out the window. I'm just, if I'm going out to a bar or, if I'm going out, shopping, sometimes I tend to leave that budget. So sticking to that budget, it's going to take discipline. It's going to take time. But, I used to do where I put $50 in an envelope, and that $50 was my entertainment. And once that $50 was gone, then the entertainment, so, that was gone. And the same with like eating out. I would put like $50 in an envelope. That would be my eating out. If I spend it all at one place, that's it. If I, spend it in 3 places, that's it. So I think I need to get back to that. And just kind of being simple, putting that money in the envelope. Once it's gone, it's gone. And not saying, well, I'll just use my debit card or I'll just use my credit card. That would be the advice I would give to myself, sticking to a budget.
Yes, I love that because I think it's really important for us to, acknowledge our wins and how well we may be doing and, not underestimating the great progress that we've made, but also
Mhm.
acknowledging areas that we can improve on and do better in because I feel like no matter what level we're on or no matter how many things we've accomplished, there are always areas to improve. And I like to remind people that none of us are perfect. And sometimes we're doing great, and sometimes we might be struggling with some things because I know I'm not perfect. But I think it's good to talk about it, have these types of conversations so we can help encourage each other, inspire each other to just do the best that we can every single day. And I think that gives me more confirmation that more people really want help and want community and want to have genuine relationships with people so that we can all connect and just be better individually and as a community.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Yes,
Can I
I
end
love it
on
too.
a couple of tips I wanted to share?
Yes.
Okay. So one, I would like to say, definitely get that savings account that's separate from your checking. So like an online savings account. There's a lot of reputable companies out there. Capital One has an online savings account. I have mine through American Express. So just get that
Mhm.
online savings account. Put in X amount per pay period. Have it automatically withdrawn. When it's automatically taken out, we don't see it, we don't miss it. Um,
Mhm.
Same thing with like for 401ks. If your job offers a 401k, take advantage of it. At least,
Mhm.
do 100% of what they're matching. The first 100%, the first 6%, do 6%. You're not gonna miss that money. Um, Next thing I would like to say, investing is easy. Open you up an E-Trade account or whatever, stock account that you prefer to use. It's free to open up an account. You don't have to have $100,000. I used to think to invest in the stock market, oh, you gotta have $10,000. I started investing with $30. I opened up an account. I bought a little
Yes.
stock that was $2. I paid the $6.95 stock
Mhm.
transfer fee, and I had some shares of stock. When you own ownership of something like a company, it may be a small percentage, but hey, you have ownership of that company. They send me like proxy votes every quarter. Hey, Norman, do you vote for this
Yeah.
CEO? Do you vote for this? And I'm like, oh, I get to have a say in Apple's what they're doing, and so yeah, start small
Mhm.
with the stocks. Same with the
Yeah.
savings account. Put in $20 a pay period, $10 a pay period. And the thing
Mhm.
with stocks, if you sit on it and you have a stock that makes dividends, you're just gonna get that money, rolling in
Yes.
quarter. And then the last thing,
Yeah.
was that the stocks. Oh yeah, as far as just overall managing your money and buying versus renting. So if you
Mhm.
have the opportunity to purchase, to buy, I've found that buying, you have a lot more say so as far as your what you can do in your place, what you can't do, versus when you're
Mhm.
renting. Once that lease is up, you don't have anything to kind of show for it because that's the property owner's resident, their place, versus when you're buying, you kind of got something that you're like, okay, I don't have a lease
Yeah.
per se. And if anything happens, whether it's job related or you have to sell it, then you sell it,
Mhm.
and for the most part you end up making a little more money than what you paid. So if you pay 150 for that house, uh
Yeah.
you're not going to sell it for 150, you may sell it for 160, and so you may
Yeah.
come out a couple of $1,000s over, versus when you're renting, your lease is up, you're done, and you have to find somewhere else. So uh,
Mhm.
I've been fortunate enough to have two houses that I am able to buy. I have one in Tennessee and then one here in Georgia, and I wouldn't go back to renting just because, like, one, rent is expensive. When
Yeah.
you're purchasing, you're probably paying about $300 to $400 less buying than you are renting, and so just
Yes.
kind of look into, for those who are kind of on the fence about buying a house or thinking it's a lot of expense.
Yeah.
I can't call the maintenance man to fix the plumbing. Get your home warranty insurance and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for sharing those financial tips with us, because I think that's where it starts, taking it one step at a time, and not just someone telling you do this or do that, but you're sharing with us, why this is a good idea. To have this online savings account to buy, versus rent. So it's really important. And with the stock investing, if we can spend money, we can invest money. So we want to make sure that we aren't just earning money just to pay bills, but we're making decisions and making moves that is going to work for us now and in the future too. So that was some great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we want to know, how can we support you and how can we connect with you?
Yeah. So my Instagram name is 2Piece Snackback. So the number 2Piece, Piece, snack, Snack, back, Back, 2Piece Snackback. And you can find me on there. If you have any questions regarding the Snacks LLC, like I was saying earlier, website is under construction. So I'll be posting more things as that becomes available. And the Instagram page for Snacks. But yeah, reach out to me on Instagram, 2Piece Snackback, and let's be financially free.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for being here and talking with us and sharing all of your knowledge, your gems, and some of your story that's inspiring me and everyone else to take more action in our own lives. And I can't wait to purchase this merch. Give me a cup so I can sit it on my table here. Give me a bag. I need one of everything.
Right.
One of everything. So I do.
We need to support one another.
Yeah.
So, I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed this episode, please share with us. Please share on social media and tag CleoYogaFinance.com. And all the details will be in the show notes on how to connect and support Norman McClain. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him. And this is the end of the show. But before I go, I just want to encourage you to just do the best that you can every single day. We're all out here just taking it one step at a time with everything that's going on. But as you navigate through your financial journey, don't wonder what if, take a risk, and have an amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you, Cleo.
You can be financially free with Cleo.